Hi, how's it going, everyone? So today we're going to be talking about CSS. We're going to be talking about how we can implement it with HTML. We're going to be talking about the style attribute, and then we're going to finish it off with some fun exercises, right? So I hope you enjoy today's video. It won't be as long as the previous one, but yeah, it's going to be pretty fun. Okay, so I wanted to show you guys how you can use CSS, right? So here's a little something we can do. Let's just go and open this file that we made in the previous video, right? Let's just open that. As you can see, it's empty, doesn't have anything, right? But let's see how we can use CSS. So okay, so we have this right here, and here's what I want to do, right? So let's just write, I don't know, hello world, for example, right here. And let's just write something for the body, right? For example, a star body. Right. So here's what we want to do. We have a star bars right here in the body, right? Now let's just put this in a paragraph. So we can make it like this, and yeah, end it like that, right? So we have star bars in a paragraph. So here's a couple of ways. Here's the three main ways that you can use a style in CSS, right? So first of all, let's use it as an attribute. You go like this. Just use it the same way you normally use an attribute, and say stuff like color. Let's make it like brown. I don't know. And then next, let's do background. Or actually, hold on. Background color. Let's make it blue, right? Then let's just save that, and let's go back to our, where was it? I think we closed it, right? So let's come over here, open it up again, and we can see that we changed it, right? We changed the star buzz right here. Now, obviously this looks a little ugly, so let's change it a little bit. Let's make it like red or something. So basically, what I want to talk about is that this is one of the main ways that you can use it. This is the least efficient way to use a style and just use CSS in general, right? Hold on, I didn't save it actually. Save. There we go, right? This is one of the least efficient way to do this, right? Here's a better way to do that we see in the head first book, right? So I'll start by saying right so many times in a row. So we go to head, right? You have to do this in the head section, right? We go to head, and we type style, right? So we get our style. So it's like an element now. It's no longer an attribute, right? So let's just remove the attribute part of style. But hold on, let's just do something. Let's keep this part. Let's keep this part, and let's just delete the rest of it. So it's no longer an attribute, right? So if we just save this right now and go back, we should see just hello world, none of the CSS, right? Just basic HTML hello world text, right? So let's go back here and add some style. So here's where we're gonna do this. We're gonna type P for paragraph, which is what we want to style. Then we're gonna open these. We're gonna exactly just copy and paste what we wrote. We're gonna save this, and we should see it go back to the way it used to be. See right there. So that was a much more efficient way to do this. Now, when you might say, why is it more efficient? Well, here's the thing, right? Let's say you have a bunch of paragraphs. Let's say you have another paragraph, and this one says, I don't know, Apple, and then Google. Right. Okay, so let's say I tell you to install all three of these, right? If we just use this P right here, we can install all three of these. So watch this. Right. It's like all three of them will start the same way, and we can't change it to the point where it styles each of them individually. But if you were to use the previous method, we have to just like write a style attribute for each of these ones, right? And then like copy and paste it all over. That will take a lot of time. An even more efficient way to do this is by using the link element, right? So check this out. We're gonna go link. We're gonna, yeah, it's right here, href css. Href stands for I believe hyper reference, if I'm not mistaken, right? So we use href to basically link to something else. This can be a page on the web. This can be, a page that we've created, right? So we're gonna use this to link to a style.css. So, and you must say, what is a style.css? Well, hold on, let's save this. Let's go and create style.css right now, like this. Just make it CSS. There we go. So we have style CSS right there. Let's open up style CSS with code. And let's just write some stuff, the same way we did in the previous method. Right, so let's just write something else, like font family, and like let's color and change it to something else like chocolate, and save this. Go back. Now see, it changed. We changed the font, we changed the color. So I want to show the third method is definitely the most efficient way to write CSS, and it's what I would recommend you to do. So just ignore the way the book tells you to do it by just using style and then like this. This is a much more efficient way, and this is the industry standard. So if you want to get a job, just learn to write CSS like this. So remember the Starbucks page I showed you at the end of the previous video where I talked about this is what we're going to be making in the next video. This is basically it, right? So you're watching on your screen right now, and we pretty much took the Starbucks page and we added a style to it, made it look the way we want. We added borders to it. You can actually change the borders. You can have it like be straight lines or dotted borders. You can even change the how many pixels you want to have, how much width you want to have, right? And then after that we get to a what does what section, where it's super simple. All you have to do is look at the code on the left, on the left, and then match it on the description on the right. So for example, you see a code on the left side, and you're supposed to say this description, it explains what this piece of code does, right? It's super simple. It's nothing complicated. You can definitely do it yourself. And then once you're finished, you can check once you get to the end of the season, which we're not far away, you can check your answer to see if you answer correctly. But you're probably going to answer correctly because it's super simple and nothing confusing or anything about it. And then we get to the mission page, and then we get to add style to that, right? So just like we did with the Starbucks page, we can add a style to the mission page as well. But you don't have to add the exact same style. You can change things around. And I highly recommend that you go and mess around with different things you have access to with CSS, right? Just obviously some of them are require a bit of help. For example, if you want to use background image, you need to link to an image, right? So for now, just look around for some of the stuff that seem pretty easy to understand, right? For example, I recommend you check out padding and margin, right? So I'm going to explain what those do. And margin is for outside. So for example, right, like let's say you have a paragraph, and you don't want it to be exactly near the end of the screen, right? You want to move it a little bit to the right, to put some space. You want to move it to like the mid to center of the page, right? So you put margin, you use margin, and you can choose how many pixels you want. And padding is for for example, when you're writing a paragraph and you don't want your actual text, not the actual paragraph, the actual text to be like start at the very beginning, start at the left. You want to start, like 10 pixels to the right, something like that. You can do that. Right. I'm gonna be showcasing padding and margin. If it sounds confusing to, it doesn't matter. Don't focus on it too much right now, right? But just try to mess around with some of the other options that CSS gives. Right. I highly recommend you do that. And just like it's just fun. You don't have to write it the same way it's in the code. I think doing stuff like this is just more fun, and it makes the whole process of learning more intriguing, right? So just mess around with the stuff CSS has to offer. Then after that, we get to the Fireside Chat. Oh, I love this part. So the Fireside Chat, it's basically HTML and CSS chatting with each other. And HTML talks about how it's a lot more important than CSS. Right? CSS, nobody would even watch would go to pages if it wasn't for me. If your page looks like super boring and dull, if it wasn't for me, right? So it's not that educational, but it's not how should I explain? Like it doesn't straight like feed you the information. It takes the information that you're supposed to learn and like slowly feeds you to it, feeds the information to you without you even noticing it, right? So I highly recommend you do read this part. Don't just skip it because you think it's like haha joke and stuff, but definitely read this part and definitely pay attention to it, right? But yes, it's not as educational as the previous part, but it's still important. You should still read it, and it's important to have a good mindset when you're reading stuff. You don't want it to be boring all the way through, right? So I highly recommend that you check this part out, even if it's not as important as some of the other parts, right? And yeah, after we get to the HTML cross section, again, this part it's an exercise, and I do recommend you do finish it. It's okay if you don't get all of the like crosses right. It's fine. Like some of them aren't even like that important. Like some of them are kind of joke stuff, right? So again, like try to solve this HTML cross, but don't get frustrated if you can answer it. It's okay. It's not that hard or complicated, right? And you can check the answer at the end of the season. Well, you've made it to the end of the video, so I wanted to thank you so much for watching so far, and I wanted to ask you to like, subscribe, comment, share, do all that good stuff, and make sure to follow me on Twitter. And in the next video, we'll be talking about the A element and how you can use it to link to other pages on the internet. You can use it to link to other web pages in your own computer, and you can even use the image element or IMG element, I should say, to have an image on your website, right? We will be talking about those, and they're super simple. They're nothing complicated, and those will be in the second season of Headfirst HTML. That means that we've just finished the very first season of this book, and we will keep going and upload. I will be uploading a video every single day, so stay tuned for more content.